Hi everyone, I'm going to be doing a review of this lettering magazine today, so if you're interested, please keep watching. So in one of my previous videos, I asked you all if you had one crafty superpower, what would it be? And a lot of you said colouring, but a lot of you also said lettering. And lettering is something that I've dabbled in, but it's not my main craft, and I wouldn't say I'm good at it per se, but I do like my writing. So when I saw this, I thought, I might be able to improve, and yeah, it might just be something helpful for you guys too. Anyway, so I picked this up. I took it home. It was $5.99. It's the first ever issue, and it came with this practice sheet and these two... Oh no, sorry, wrong one. It came with these two pens. Let me just move that cable. Yeah, so you get one grey for shading and one black for your main image, and it's got a brush nib, which is quite nice, and this bullet nib, and the other one's exactly the same. So that was cool. I thought that was a nice little touch that you could actually get going. I have tried the practice sheets with the pens they provided. Kind of okay. Personally, I don't like to write on this slick paper. I just find it's not a good combination with a water-based marker, which is what I'm assuming these are, because most cheaper pens are water-based. Yeah, water-based pigment. So anyway, I didn't like them on the glossy cardstock. I thought they might smudge if you were leaning on them before they dried. So I also had a go with my distress markers. So I tried the Candied Apple one, and I did their exercises, and I thought the exercises themselves were quite good. I just wasn't a massive fan of the paper quality. And then there's all how to draw the letters, which is quite nice. And I liked that later on they showed you lowercase and it was smaller, because that's more realistic to what you'd want to put on your card. And then there's more exercises about doing some flourishes. If I'm honest, I don't think these work well with the pens that they provided, although in their defence they say that these are meant to be used with fine liners, but I don't think you could get that effect with a fine liner. So some of the things that they suggest in the magazine don't add up with the effect that you're trying to get, and that's a theme that I will point out through the magazine, but I just wanted to give you an overview at the moment of the test things that you can do. This one I really liked. This is something that is achievable with fine liners and is something that I do quite often myself. I like the fact that they showed you the stippling technique, but I think that's a bit more advanced. And then they start talking about using dip pens here, which I would say is quite advanced. I mean, I've dabbled, but personally not something that I would use, because the dip pens are quite difficult to control. And they've done some more here. I think these are for you to trace, I'm not sure, or to cut out and use. Yeah, not sure. It just says template. Okay, so that's the little practice sheet. And then we're going to dive into the magazine. So there's a little intro here about the editor. There's quite a bit of focus about bullet journalers and how you do spreads, so if you're not a planner you might find that frustrating. I do plan, but I don't do bullet journals, so that was a bit frustrating for me. I think they could have done a lot more around greetings cards. Yeah, greetings cards and just general paper crafting type projects, maybe more scrapbooking and stuff. Then they go through the different types of pens. It was interesting, but most of us crafters know what pens do what. I liked the fact that they talk about the technical side of the forming of the letters, so they talk about the crossbar and the descenders and the stems and the legs and all that kind of stuff, although it's probably easier for the first time just to remember that when you're doing a downstroke it's thicker, and when you're doing an upstroke it's thinner, which is what they focus more on the practice sheets. So if you're new and this is a bit overwhelming, just master this first and then worry about this later. I like the fact that they included a little column about tips for left-handed writers, because I often feel like they get left out. Yeah, so I did like that, but I'm not a left-handed, so I can't really review whether or not those are good or not. So if you are a left-handed and you've got this magazine, please let me know, because I am genuinely interested. I liked this here where they talk about changing pressure on the curves. Curves is something that I personally find quite difficult. I think I've pretty much mastered the upstrokes and the downstrokes, but it's these tight curves and the angles to do them at that drive me bonkers. I like the fact that they mention about using calligraphy on wedding invitations and some cards, but it's just a mention here. This, to be honest, feels more like an advertisement rather than information. Okay, so now she starts talking about how to do colour blending. Personally, I'm not convinced so far that they've given you enough information to be comfortable with just doing lettering on its own before you even worry about doing colour blending and all of that. But if you have dabbled before and you're comfortable with forming your letters, this might be nice as a kind of like intermediate place to start. I can't remember where it was, if it was here or not. She was using just regular paper and not watercolour paper, and I think it's actually further on, and she was using watercolours on non-watercolour paper and then wondering why the paper was pilling, and I was just, that really frustrated me, because if you're new to a craft and you're not told that the combination of the ink you're using and the paper you're using is just as important as the technique. You can have the perfect technique, but if your paper and your ink aren't right, you will still get bad results. So that really puts people off from trying a new craft, and it's like my absolute #1 bugbear when people are teaching. They have to get that stuff right, and they have to explain why it's important. You need watercolour paper because it can hold water, and you need the water if you're going to do the blending technique that she's teaching, the way she's teaching it. There is another way to do blending, and that's with a blender pen, and that might be something that you want to look into. Maybe I can do a specific video about that. I'm not entirely comfortable with teaching lettering because it's not something that I'm great at. But if you want to learn, then maybe I can look into it and learn with you rather than teach you. Yeah, so I just wanted to flip through really and just point out things. Again, there's lots of advertisement in here. They've definitely filled up the gaps with adverts. Then there is a focus on an artist, which is quite nice, but I don't know. For a first magazine, I think I would want more meat to like help me practice. Here they're talking about faux calligraphy, and this is typically more of the style that I do because I don't use dip pen, sorry. I find that too difficult with my hand issues. So if you've got difficulties with your hands as well, you might find faux calligraphy techniques more helpful. So it does cover that. Now here, she shows blending colours, not very well in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. To me that looks quite messy. It's not something that I would like, but if you like that, then great. I just think for the first time somebody's doing it, I would want to show a technique that has more repeatable results. This is very much dependent on what pens you use and how much water. And the Tombow markers that they've picked, given the fact that this is seems to be based at like being simple and being a beginner step-to-step guide, I wouldn't pick markers that were that expensive to buy as the first thing. I'd pick something that people are more likely to have in their stash, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So this is about the editor and how she went through her journey of learning how to do calligraphy and do lettering. That's nice, but if I'm really honest, I don't really care. Am I just mean? Do I just expect too much? Maybe you can leave me a comment down below and say. Again, here they're using Tombow markers, which are the best water-based markers out there on the market for brush lettering. I have to agree, but again, they're so expensive, it would be nice to have a more affordable option. I think they're expensive, I wouldn't buy them. And I love all things craft, and I've pretty much tried everything, but I won't buy those, or I don't know, maybe one day. Okay, now they're focusing more on bullet journals again. They talk about wedding stuff here, more advertising. This makes me happy because they're actually making cards, I think. Yeah, cards. Yeah, I do like the idea of this. Again, they're choosing Pitt Artist brush pens and Tombow markers, which are the more artist quality side of things rather than a beginner. To be honest, I don't know if there's an entry level version. I'm sure there must be. It would be nice to see them try out those. Now they're talking about doing shadows and highlights. Now they're talking about some chalkboard artist, and to be honest, most of us aren't chalkboard artists, and unless we own a cafe or something, I don't I don't know if that's really going to be applicable. Although it is nice that they teach you how to recreate the look on a black tag. That was very fashionable, to be fair. More advertising for them. More advertising for other people. Another artist guy. Great, but I mean that's just not attainable when you're first starting. That, to me, that is like super professional. I don't think most people would ever get there, or even care to want to get there. I quite like this one because it is a simple design and it seems more attainable. Although writing on vellum is actually really difficult because it's so slick, so it can be a little bit tricky. I don't know what else to say about that. More adverts. Then they do lettering with quilling, which quilling is a completely different art form. And okay, she's formed letters with quilling, but for me this just doesn't fit in the magazine at all. I really don't know why they put it there. Here they're talking about using your handwriting in art journaling. I'm really happy about that because I think that we should all learn to love our handwriting and tell our stories, whether that be in scrapbooking or your art journal or just your regular journal. So this made me really happy. And I like the fact that she gave suggestions. That was really cool. But we're back to planners and I just don't care. More adverts. Another artist who is really awesome, and he seems to be more typography than calligraphy and hand lettering. So don't really feel like he fits, but it's cool. I mean, you can tell he's more of an artist. Giveaway. More ads. This is spoken about as East Indian art. It doesn't feel like particularly Indian, to be honest, especially with the galaxy background. That feels very much like American trendy right now, galaxy backgrounds. I do like though that they show you how to map out a image and then how to fit your letters in that. This one thing is the best tutorial in the whole magazine, in my opinion. I also like the fact that he shows you this transfer technique. A token card. And then more adverts. Another artist, like, really? And another advert. So that's my opinion. I would not buy this magazine again. And I'm not going to. Unless one of you comes on and says, this is amazing issue, I wouldn't bother. You can honestly get better. For $5.99 you could buy one really good black pen, and you can go online and get practice sheets from online bloggers, and there are way better YouTube videos out there. So I'm really sorry, Lettering Magazine, Simply Lettering Magazine, I think you missed the ballpark for me. It might be nice to take this on holiday with you if you had nothing else to do and you just wanted something to do on the plane maybe, but nah. I just can't love it, I'm sorry. Anyway, as you were all interested in lettering, I thought you might be interested in this little review of this magazine. If you've got it and you love it, please tell me why. I know I'm heavily biased because I'm a bit of an art snob. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Bye. 50 awesome points to everybody who got this far in the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can find out when I release new videos. And there are a couple of videos here for your delectation if you so desire.